An ambitious plan to overhaul public schools across the country will be unveiled today on Capitol Hill. Congressman Jamaal Bowman, who represents the Bronx and parts of Westchester, introducing a $1.4 trillion measure known as the Green New Deal for public schools.
Yes, this comes on the heels, though, of Mayor Bill de Blasio's announcement last week outlining his education recovery plan, which focused on creating equity in New York City public schools.
The focus now is on doing unprecedented things to close that COVID achievement gap, to get our kids in a strong place for their futures.
We will make sure every child has the supports they need, from social workers to social emotional screenings. We are pulling out all the stops.
Congressman Jamaal Bowman joins us now this morning to share his plan, which he will be introducing later today. So, Congressman, thanks so much for being with us today.
Good morning.
Thank you for having me.
You know, equity in education is a huge priority, especially coming out of this pandemic. So when we realize really how bad the disparities were, how does your Green New Deal address these disparities?
Well, the federal government needs to step in, and that's why we're calling for an investment of $1.43 trillion over 10 years to fix our schools that have fallen into disrepair. Cities and states have been struggling financially to keep up with our public school buildings. We have kids going to school, drinking water laced with lead, dealing with mold and mildew and asbestos. We saw we couldn't bring kids back to certain schools because they didn't have the proper HVAC systems in place to adapt to what's happening with COVID. We're living through a climate crisis. Our schools are the best place to start as we transition away from fossil fuels and get towards clean, renewable energy. Schools as the epicenter and heartbeat of our communities are the best place to get this done.
Yeah, I mean, it's sad that it took a pandemic to highlight these things. You, sir, are a former middle school principal in the Bronx. My parents are both educators in the Bronx. They've been talking about these problems for decades in schools, right? So taking this money, what would it specifically go towards, and is the rest of the country facing similar problems in their classrooms?
Oh, absolutely. This was not done in a vacuum, not simply because I'm a former educator. We worked with the Building Trades, Environmental Protection Agency, and many other agencies to come up with this plan. We need to retrofit our school buildings so they are ready and prepared to deal with the changing climate. We need to build new school buildings so that our kids can breathe clean air and walk down clean, pristine hallways as they engage in learning. This also brings in additional teachers and school counselors to meet the learning needs of our kids. And guess what? This is the part kids are most excited about. We need more science and the arts in our schools. Kids are creative, they're innovative. We need to prepare them for the problems of a 21st century economy, not the problems of an industrial revolution. Our schools are old, both how kids learn in them and how they are physically built. This is about upgrading to a 21st century school system.
Well, on that note, you know, part of your plan does call for spending more on Title I programs. So how many children are going to be impacted by this?
Oh, this would be transformative in their lives. I mean, you know how frustrating it is for a kid to use the bathroom and there's literally no running hot water, or they want to get a drink of water and the faucets do not work, or they see mold growing on the ceilings of their schools, or there's no outside green space play area because their schools are built in concrete jungles, if you will. This is about thinking about the most pristine schools in our country, making them green and bringing them into the inner city, which has been neglected for decades. We have not invested in public housing and in public Title I schools the way we needed to for decades. This is about turning that around. So
the proposal that you're putting forth here, it's a hefty price tag, $1.4 trillion, right? I guess the question would be, are you confident the president can get this done in a bipartisan way? Because there's been a lot of talk about infrastructure, and it seems like Congress is divided on how much money should be spent and where.
Well, you know, education is one of the few bipartisan issues. You know, public schools serve 90% of students in the country, whether they're Democrat or Republican. So we need to make sure the wealthy pay their fair share. We need to make sure large corporations pay their fair share. And we need to make some other decisions as well. Like, do we need to spend, you know, $700 billion to build more jets and rockets and bombs, or should we be investing in our most precious resource, which is our children. So those decisions need to be made. And I'm so thankful that President Biden is married to Dr. Jill Biden, who is a teacher, who understands the importance of education. And we've been working very closely with them throughout this process. So we're hopeful for this package and hopeful moving forward.
Well, we are so thankful that you joined us this morning to talk about it. It's very important. And Congressman Jamaal Bowman, thank you for being with us. And of course, we'll be following this Green New Deal proposal very closely.
Thank you.
Thank you.